Good morning, everybody. Keith Engel here for TGI Sports Talk. Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook. We've been off for, 3 or 4 shows, but I welcome in my co-host, who's been missing me terribly. I know Jack Hirsch, Hall of Fame boxing writer and Michael Spink's biographer. How are you, Jack?
Hey, good, Keith. We were off that little amount of time because you were cruising, but you were back. And I'm sure on your cruise you watched plenty of sports and you mingled with plenty of World Cup fans.
I have to tell you,
I'm sure of that on the cruise.
The World Cup was dominant in any bar you went into. Well, the sports bars you went into on the cruise. It was just, and a lot of England
the big screen of the World Cup games.
They had, they didn't have on the up on the top deck. Again, it was kind of cold, so there weren't a lot of people up there outside. But they did have it on the big screen and on about 20 TVs in the casino. So they had it everywhere, and a lot of England fans, a lot of Argentinian fans. Is that right, Argentina?
Argentinian.
Yeah, that's close enough.
Argentinian, I don't know. It doesn't matter. We got to be careful in this day and age of sensitivity. You pronounce something the wrong way.
Yeah,
we'll have feedback. They might cancel this show, or they might, whoever said it, one of us would have to have a new co-host.
Well, it was dominant, and they were loud. And these fans, I got to tell you, we'll talk a little bit about it as we go along here. We're going to talk World Cup with Spain beating Argentina yesterday 1-0, and Argentina didn't get off a shot on goal for the first 90 minutes, which is like the third time in history. And it was all 3 times it's been Argentina. Fun? Is that fun? Did we have fun watching?
They dominated the game. But as we were getting late in the game before extra time, it started to become apparent that Argentina finally had a strategy. Take it to penalty kicks, where the advantage would swing towards them, because Spain, their last 3 games of penalty kicks, they wound up actually losing those games. And Argentina specialized in winning games, on penalty kicks. And what a lousy way that would have been for Spain to lose. You totally dominate the game. All game, it seemed like they were on Argentina's end. And Emiliano Martinez, the Argentinian goalie, he set a record for the amount of saves in, a World Cup final. He kept his team in the game.
Great.
And it was getting to the point of becoming, it would appear that it might actually go to penalty kicks. But of course, Spain, in the extra, time, overtime, they scored that goal. It didn't quite get there. It's something that no one talks about in this game at the end of the game that bothered me a lot with Spain. You're beating the heck out of Argentina all game. You have a one-man advantage because of a foolish, reckless play by the Argentina player, after he got his first yellow card, then another, whatever the darn colors of the card. So I'm not an expert at soccer.
You got
I have a working knowledge. I actually took a soccer course in college, and I had so much fun playing a whole semester. So I'm obviously up on the rules in this. And I went to a lot of New York Cosmo games in the past when they had Pele. But that Spain does the equivalent, Keith, of a prevent defense. They stop attacking at the end because they got a 1-0 lead, and they give Argentina a little bit of life. And Argentina actually had a couple of opportunities. And with some luck, Argentina could have leveled the score 1-up, and then it would have gone to penalty kicks after all. That would have been the disaster of disasters. Even though you have 1-0, keep attacking. Play the game the same. Don't get conservative. And Spain did at the end.
It's actually the same strategy that England deployed against Argentina, and it backfired on them because they ended up losing the game near the end of regulation. And I don't get it. A lot of teams seem to do this because those 1-0 leads hold up a lot of times. So they played nothing but that's, as you said, prevent defenses. It's crazy.
It happens in all sports. It could happen in the NBA. One team's beating another team by 20 points. Second half, now they're milking the clock. They're using the 24-second clock, trying to take as much time off as they can, and their offense stops running smoothly. But it's what it is. Penalty kick.
I have to agree with Danny here. And again, we've talked about this before. I've talked about it in hockey and other sports. You play one game for however long hours, and then we play a totally different game to decide some of these things.
What you're saying in theory is correct, but you're not out there playing. I'm not out there playing.
I get it.
The conditions are brutal. It gets to the point where the body breaks down. If you're out there playing soccer for 6-7 hours and you haven't scored, you're about to drop at that point. Physically, you can't do it anymore. There's got to be a point to end the game. I could understand you saying that in baseball. I can, because sooner or later, someone is going to hit a home run. You go to your bench. Someone's going to break sooner or later, even though we once had a 24-inning game. But I get all that in baseball, okay? Baseball, it's just a question of they don't want the games lasting too long, but the players can physically endure it as hard as it is, as brutal as it might be. In soccer, they can't. If you play forever, the guys are completely exhausted.
But would you play for
not running? And it'll get to the point where they're not running down the field. They're just standing there and clearing the ball out. And the darn game, I kid you not, Keith, I kid you not, could go 9, 10, 11 hours. That's how crazy it is if you didn't have penalty kicks.
But I think your argument makes sense, perfect sense. I think it also might lend to the fact that it wouldn't go that long because the team that's not as well conditioned is going to lose sooner. They're going to give up a cheap goal because they're tired.
But it's the elements. A lot of times it might not be conditioning. You could be in the greatest shape, but the heat and humidity could do you in. I mean, it's all sports. Look at Djokovic in the Wimbledon quarterfinals. He won a 5-hour match. Now he's got to play the semis. He's an older player. It's so hard to physically recover. That's another issue, too. I think men's sets shouldn't be 5. It should be 3 sets like women. I think that's enough. I think 5 sets, maybe for the finals, okay? Make it 5-set finals and all the games leading up to 3 sets. But that's another issue. That's another sport. But yesterday, in the World Cup game, I mean, it was obvious Spain was the better team. The attitude of the Argentinian players, it seemed like they wanted to fight after the game. They
did fight after the game.
I mean, I understand the spunk, how much they wanted to defend their World Cup title. I get all that. But what were they constantly complaining about? I just didn't see it.
Well, there's a lot of that. It's like the NBA. It's like any sport, wide receivers in football, basketball players always complaining about officiating. Too much of that in soccer. We talk about the flopping and everything else, but there's also a lot of hand wringing and screaming at officials for it gets to be too much after a while.
Keith, you wonder also, I don't know if you wondered, I've wondered, the players that fall in soccer flop. How much of the time are they legitimately going down? Yesterday, one of the players from Spain, he did the somersault in the air. And I told myself, I can't imagine him deliberately doing that.
Well, that's different.
You never know. I mean, okay, his leg got hit. The Argentinian player who got kicked out of the game at that point, he runs into him. I understand his foot goes under the Spaniard's foot. The Spaniard's running forward. But to go flying in the air upside down like that, I'm not saying it wasn't legitimate. I'm not saying that at all. But wow, I can't see the gravity. I can't see, if you're not doing that deliberately, to be turned upside down, and he was flying in the darn air.
Again, whether that one's a flop, I don't know, because that seems like a lot of taking a chance on getting seriously hurt to take a flop, right?
Wow,
but, there is a lot of, that's one of my pet peeves is the flopping, and not even just the flopping, but the histrionics that go on after, it looks like they need to be carted off and taken to an emergency room, and then they're playing 2 minutes later, they're running up and down the pitch again. The other thing I have, why can they not keep a running clock on how much time is in extra time? When it's a 1-0 game like that and you're coming down to the end of the 90 minutes, wouldn't it be beneficial to know whether there was 1 minute to play or 8 minutes to play? Why don't
what the problem is? The problem is these guys in sports in general, a lot, not all of them, obviously, because you've complained enough, they have a Keith Engel mentality and not wanting to change tradition. No, they do. You hate when
that's fair.
Change. And soccer has a tradition. Now, for soccer to modernize, where we could see the clock, let them call timeout, so when the ball goes out of bounds, the clock stops. You want to know something? I'm embarrassed to say this, Keith, and I'm going to expose myself as knowing a little less than I should. I sometimes forget the NFL rules when a player goes out of bounds during the game. My mentality is the way it used to be, the clock stops. It doesn't stop till, the last couple of minutes.
Right.
So
they changed that rule.
But you're right. You're 100%. We don't know how much extra time is left. And do the players know? Could you imagine a team is dribbling the ball towards goal, trying to tie it up at the very end, and right before they kick it, the official says, okay, time's done.
Well, we do know once we hit the end of regulation time, they put the clock up with how much extra time there is. So we know that there's 6 minutes or whatever, and it does count down from there. You see whatever, a plus 6, and it counts down. But my point is, while they're playing, you don't know how much is accumulating. So you don't know what you're going to start with once you hit 0.
I don't think that's big a fact. That's a big fact. I think it matters. Because normally there's going to be about 5, 6, 7 minutes left in just about every case.
I don't know.
But Spain, Spain was the best team in the tournament. When we talked about the game yesterday, I picked Argentina I picked Spain to win yesterday based on this. I'll go with the team that's dominating throughout the tournament, who's played much, much better throughout the tournament over the team that's come back from the edge a couple of times. Games they could have and should have lost. I mean, Argentina definitely should have lost to England. No ifs or buts about it. They're down 2-0.
They could have lost 3 times.
In the 85th minute, exactly. I mean, and for them to pull that game out.
I think their previous 3 games, they were trailing every game and came back near the end of it. So, yes, I agree. And yesterday, you were absolutely right. Spain, I think, only gave up 1 goal the entire tournament, which is amazing to get through here, especially when you get to the caliber of play they played the last few rounds.
Right off the bat, Spain attacked. And, Argentina, I mean, they were looking to get Messi free, to get Messi open. But, how could Messi get open? He had to concentrate on defense the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, the Argentinian team had to, they won their back foot the whole game, it seemed. Then finally, towards the end, they were trying to get free, and Messi was smothered and just couldn't work any magic. He had 1 kick from an angle where the ball kind of hooked around. He was on the right-hand side.
Yep.
And I think even though it was called a pass, the ball hooked on a certain angle where, if it hooked a little more towards the goal, it would have been a goal for the ages. It would have been one of the more spectacular plays in World Cup history, but it wasn't to be. And well-earned when the better team won yesterday. I mean, no one can question that at all, who was the better team, the more deserving team. But had it gone to penalty kicks, Keith, and Argentina won, we would have been maybe having a different discussion, because I would have been saying, Keith, for the first time, I'm thinking you might have a point here. I'm not too happy with this, the game being decided on penalty kicks, considering how thoroughly Spain outplayed them all game.
Agreed. I mean, they were a great team, and that's why you run the risk all the time when you have those types of game-ending scenarios that something ugly can happen, and what would seem unfair. I had one more question. Messi, 38 years old.
39.
39. The thought is he's done with World Cup play. Does this maybe bring him back?
No. You don't chase ghosts. You don't chase ghosts. It's a few years down the line. Look, if the World Cup is a yearly event, maybe you come back, because before you know it, you're into next tournament. 4 years is a long time, and there's no guarantees of what Argentina might do 4 years down the line. What, you're going to hang around and Argentina might get eliminated early in the tournament, or they might win it all. Who knows? It's so like unpredictable.
Who's
so, no, if Messi was going to quit, you could say it could have been 4 years ago after Argentina won the World Cup. But how much does he enjoy playing? We tend, Keith, to retire these athletes. It's up to them. We keep saying, they should go out on top. At the end, people don't always remember. It doesn't matter that much whether they went out on top. I'm going to give you a case in point.
Does it?
Okay, let me give you a case in point.
Go ahead.
When we talk about the legacies now, the greatest quarterbacks of all time, we tend to, talk obviously Tom Brady. We mention Manning. We mention Montana. Elway certainly in the mix, John Elway. But John Elway won his back-to-back Super Bowls and retired. No one went out on a higher note than John Elway. John Elway went out on a much higher note than Tom Brady, if you want to get down to it. Manning went out on a higher note than Brady. They retired with the Super Bowl. But, look, we don't put Manning over Montana necessarily. You can or you cannot. That's another debate. Because we don't put Elway over Montana. The majority of the people are going to put Joe Montana over John Elway, the vast majority. And if you ask the majority of people who was a greater quarterback, John Elway or Dan Marino, it would be pretty much split 50-50. Now, forget our opinions. I'm just saying consensus. And he went out on top.
Just to extend this topic a little bit further, the retiring too soon or too late. Would you rather see a guy retire too soon or too late? Let me give you an example.
He's not getting hit. This isn't boxing where he's going to.
Forget about it. I'm not just football. I mean, in general, right? Let me give you my example. I grew up at the end of Willie Mays' career. I didn't get to see Willie Mays at his best live, right? I saw all kinds of highlights since with the internet, but not when I was a kid. So my main memory of Willie Mays is the 1973 World Series where he's falling down in center field and falling down in a batter's box. And I mean, I know he was a great player, but is that the way Willie Mays would want to be remembered by anybody? I don't think so. I think some guys stick around too long.
Muhammad Ali getting beaten up by Larry Holmes.
Great example.
Well, it saddens me. Listen, I agree. I mean, it pains me the memory of Ali having absolutely nothing and getting beaten up the way he did by Holmes.
That was awful.
It pains me to see fighters like Roy Jones, who was untouchable during his prime, lose to a number of guys, he wouldn't have lost to. Late on, it always pains you that way, but you want to know something? At the end, in boxing, you can't enjoy it getting beaten up. But if you enjoy playing soccer, baseball, basketball, I mean, keep doing it. Keep doing it. Tim McCarver used to say he loved players who scratch and claw, still wanting a roster spot. Right now, we're going through that with LeBron James. LeBron James, we agree, is no longer the best player in the NBA. In his prime, he would have been. He's not top 10. He's not top 10 right now. Maybe he's top 20.
He's top 20, definitely.
Top 20. Okay, maybe he's even top 10. I don't want to go there.
I would say he's at least borderline top 10 if he's not in the top.
Okay. But it's to the point of LeBron James loves being on a team, loves playing. And let's say he ever got to the point where he was a seventh guy on the team. That's status. A good guy off the bench. He'll give you 15. Let's say gives you 15 minutes off the bench. Could be somewhat productive and have a roster spot. He just wants to be a part of a team. You're going to say, no, LeBron retired.
No,
if you're doing what you love doing, do it unless you're causing yourself physical harm.
If you're
then you shouldn't be. Yeah, then you shouldn't be doing it.
If you're still effective and not embarrassing yourself, then yes. Again, the two examples we brought up, those were embarrassments for those players, and I don't think that's the way they wanted to go out. Danny brings up a couple guys who were retired way too soon, and Jim Brown and Barry Sanders.
Well, Jim Brown, because he had a conflict with Art Modell, the owner, who insisted he came to camp. Barry Sanders just disappeared. I know that's a documentary on him, whatever his reason was. I don't remember what he said it was or whether he said what his particular reason was, but he was a bit of a recluse who kind of walked away. Football's a little different. Football, it takes a toll on you long term. A bad example could be Travis Kelce. He's continuing to play. He's going to end his career being only part of the player he was. That's how he's probably going to end it. I don't see Travis Kelce next year being the Travis Kelce of old. I'll give you an example. Keith, I saw a poll, I think executives, this and that, they rated the 10 best tight ends in the NFL.
He's not
Travis Kelce was number 10, I saw. Number 10 is good, actually. 32 teams? That's not bad. That's not bad. But the point is, Travis Kelce would have been number one at his very best.
Oh, for sure. He might be he's one of the greatest tight ends ever to play, right?
Yeah. Oh, without question, maybe the greatest. Maybe.
I would say Gronk stayed around too long. He had some. I know he ended on a high note with a Super Bowl win, but he wasn't a fraction of the player he was when he was.
But listen. At the end of the day, athletes' performance goes down. We remember how great they were in the vast majority of cases. Willie Mays, or if you ask someone who the greatest baseball players were of all time, he's going to be in most people's top five, the same way Sugar Ray Robinson lost a ton of fights at the end of his career. My shirt on, if anyone wonders, this is Henry Armstrong, one of the greatest fighters in boxing history. The only man who held 3 world titles at once, not like today's fighters with all the weight classes who are even though they may be greater athletes than the fighters of the past. It's a joke, today's weight divisions. They don't want to move up 2-3 weight divisions, even though the pounds are close. Henry Armstrong held 3 world titles at the same time. Only fight in boxing history. He held a featherweight 126-pound title, lightweight 135, and welterweight 147, all at the same time. He made history. Only fight in boxing history to do it. But my point is this. Henry Armstrong at the end of his career was losing fights, the guys he shouldn't have, and he was Sugar Ray Robinson's idol. And he fought Sugar Ray Robinson at Madison Square Garden, and Sugar Ray Robinson allegedly carried Henry Armstrong the distance. And they asked Robinson a famous quote afterwards, did you carry Henry Armstrong? And he said, nah, I couldn't knock out Henry Armstrong. He meant it in the sense that's his idol. I couldn't knock him out. So he answered it in a way to let Armstrong have his dignity.
I feel like boxing is a place where they all hang around too long, or they retire and come back.
With terrible results because of the physical toll.
Yeah,
but soccer, unless you consider heading the ball, having an effect, which it conceivably could, let Messi do what he wants to do. If he enjoys playing and he can play at a good level, maybe he doesn't have to even play at an all-time great level. Listen, you of all people, Keith Engel, first
when you use my whole name, I get nervous.
No, I know you, Keith. First thing. If a guy like Sinatra, at the end of his career, when his voice wasn't the same and he was just a shell of himself, his voice, you'd be camping out, Keith, to get tickets for Sinatra concerts because he's Frank Sinatra.
I did, actually. That's actually
true.
Oh,
I didn't know that. Oh, wow.
He opened the Pepsi Arena here in Albany. He's well past his career. He was drunker than a skunk, but it was fun. It was still fun.
Oh, well, there you go. I mean, listen, Jay-Z is 57 years old. He just had a 3-night concert at, Yankee Stadium.
Who'd you say? I'm sorry, who?
Jay-Z.
Oh, Jay-Z.
Yeah, 3 nights. And
I didn't know you were a big Jay-Z fan.
Yeah, no, I didn't go. He packed them in, okay, for that. But I'm not sure, but this is a good question for Jay-Z fans. Is Jay-Z's voice at his age still as good? Is Bon Jovi's voice still as good as they were earlier, in their careers? I don't know. I don't think I'm qualified to say, but fans of them might say, no, it's not as good, but they don't care. They just want to see these icons out there performing. Look, Wimbledon, I mentioned Djokovic. He greatest male tennis player of all time. Novak Djokovic. Djokovic now is just one of, James, it's just one of the best players in the world. Are you sad to see him play? As long as Djokovic enjoys playing, let's say he can do no better than win one match at Wimbledon going forward. As long as he wants to play, let him play. As long as he enjoys it, he's not hurting his legacy to me.
No, I wouldn't think. I don't think. I'm not saying guys do, but unfortunately, when Willie Mays' name comes up, I do think he's one of the top players in the history of baseball. Never having seen him play in his prime live, I still remember those last moments, and it's sad that that's the first thing that pops in my head, though.
Yeah, but you take a chance. Look, the Mets. That was 1973. Yeah. The Mets lost the World Series in 7 games to the Oakland Athletics. If the Mets won that 7th game, you'd be thinking, wow, Willie Mays is going out in a blaze of glory, even if he didn't play the 7th game. Look, certain athletes go out on a different note. Pele went to the, I think it was called, I forgot what it was called. Was it NASL, whatever, at the time. And I used to go to a lot of Cosmo games. And they did win the championship there his last year with the team.
He was 40.
It was called the Soccer Bowl. And Pele says, now I can die. Like he achieved whatever. It's...
what was he, 40-ish, 40?
He wasn't the same player, but he was still good. I went to a Cosmo game. He scored all 3 of their goals. They won 3-1. Pele was no longer the iconic standalone greatest player of all time, in his generation. He was just a very good player amongst a number of other very good players. He may not have even been the best guy on that Cosmo team. Wow. Giorgio Strinaglia, Steve Hunt. Their goalie, Shep Messing, is I have a contact to him. I might maybe we could put him on the show, Shep Messing, talk about the days with the Cosmos. But the Cosmos traded Shep Messing after they won their first, couple of championships.
Didn't they have a guy from Germany that was really good too?
Franz Beckenbauer.
Beckenbauer, yeah. That was a really good team, yeah.
Carlos Alberto, the Spaniard. Oh man. They got the greatest players in the world they assembled for that league.
We've had a lot of comments.
But Rick, okay, when you say it was terrible, Bob Dylan, I mean, did the people enjoy watching him perform?
That's the key, because the previous comment, I don't know if you saw, was about Barry Manilow. Barry Manilow was just here in Albany, and I saw highlights where he didn't look good. He lip synced a lot, but every single person who made a comment loved the show. So it doesn't matter, right? So
yeah.
Even if they're bad, that's the point you're making, I think, is even if they're past their prime and no good, people enjoy it. I don't know about Bob Dylan.
You just want to see a semblance of the guy, the person, or let's say in the case of an athlete, a remembrance, a flash of what he used to do.
Yeah.
And and you love it. I mean, it's as long as he's not truly, but if he's embarrassing himself, he wouldn't be on the team.
Agreed.
He wouldn't be playing. Listen, I'm going to give you a wild, crazy scenario. This isn't going to happen, but let's say Mariano Rivera's been throwing in his backyard, and let's say Mariano Rivera could throw 87, 88 miles per hour now. Let's say 86. Let's say he's about 10 miles per hour slower because he's older, which is a possibility. He could still throw that hard if he worked at it. I don't think so, but it's a possibility. And with his cutter, and he wants to come to camp to see if he could make the team as a courtesy to him. They'll let him show up at camp saying, look, it's a long shot, Mariano, but we'll allow you. We won't say no. We'll be salivating to see Mariano come into a game that the Yankees could be losing 14-1 to pitch one inning. We'll love it. We'll love it, Keith. They're losing 14-1, even if it's just one game, just as a remembrance of what he did. And all it would take is striking out one guy with the cutter, and we'd go crazy.
I kind of hope that doesn't happen, by the way.
It's not going to happen, but I'm giving you an example, a scenario. But if it did happen and he came into the game, darn it, you'd be excited.
I probably would be, again, if he was any semblance of himself. I don't want to see him go out there and get battered around, right?
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't allow that.
Because a lot of that brings me up. A lot of pitchers in baseball have hung around way too long. Steve Carlton hung around way too long. He must have pitched for.
Well, listen, Justin Verlander.
Verlander's
last year. When you announce, but there's something about announcing it's your last year, Keith. If you're performing dreadfully and it's your last year, and you announce it's your last year, people tend to give that player a pass. Okay, it's his last year, he's out. It's like you were the company, Keith. You were supervisor, right?
I managed a lot of people, yeah. Yeah,
exactly. And if someone is, and you've had some subpar workers, and then they weren't the greatest workers. That's a part of life. But if one of them announced his retirement, he's retiring in 2 months, the date is set, you'd be a little more tolerant of him being a screw up. You'd say, I don't like it, but listen, he's retiring, you're a little more patient.
Well, there's no sense of wasting energy on, trying to fix that guy because.
Yeah, well, whatever. But it happened. Listen, most players, they don't retire while at the absolute zenith. Accept it. Accept the way it is. And if they do retire when at the absolute peak, you're wondering, well, why are you retiring? You have so much more to give.
Maybe they know somewhere down deep they don't have it to give anymore. So that's why they walk away. I think there's different reasons, right? So. Anyway, let's get back into the today's world of sports because we got to switch to some baseball, which we haven't talked a lot about. But since I've been away, maybe the Red Sox fans would wish I go away more because the Red Sox have won 13 games in a row. Well, their season looked like it was lost here just 2 weeks ago, and they won 13 straight. I think they hold the last wild card spot.
They do. Yankees hold the first wild card spot, Cleveland second, Boston third, but that's unimportant at this point.
Today, well, there's too much to play, and there's 7 or 8 teams still alive in a wild card race. Yankees are still struggling, 19-22. That's a pretty good sample size now. We played a quarter of the season without Aaron Judge, and we show we can't play without him.
But Keith, we can vent all we want. But the guys who are in the lineup just have to produce. I mean, there's no Max Fried either.
Fair.
I don't want to. I don't want to see Weathers, Yarbo, those guys pitching where Fried should be pitching. That's a major difference because the Yankees in reality have 3 aces. That's how good their pitching is. Rondon is out too, when you think of it, and they got away with it for a while in the beginning. Guys were playing well, but they leveled out. They came down to earth, and Yankees are struggling. There's no way around it. And there's no guarantee they're going to completely snap out of it. They were fortunate to win last night's game, the second of the doubleheader, with, on the day with the Dodgers. That kind of stopped the bleeding, for a little bit right now. They play Pittsburgh tonight.
Who's playing well.
And,
they're playing well.
And the Red Sox, they made some good off-season acquisitions. And I couldn't understand why the Red Sox played as poorly as they did earlier. We attributed it to, they didn't have good chemistry with these moves. They moved on from Alex Cora, their manager. That didn't help for a while. But the Red Sox are a decent team. And now even a team like Baltimore, they're a couple of games under 500.
Won 7 straight.
Coming on, yeah, exactly. And the best thing that the Yankees had going for them was their big cushion that they had early in the year. It's still helping them. But you can only fall back on your cushion so long. If you continue to lose, that cushion starts evaporating and finally it's gone. We've seen it happen. I mean, look, the Mets were locked to make the playoffs last year, and then everything just fell apart at the end of the year. You see these law of averages, 95% chance of making the playoffs. The next week it's 78%, then it's 62%, then it's 48%, and before you know it, a couple more weeks go by and you're eliminated. The end.
The Red Sox, look, they've gotten better starting pitching. Their starting pitching early in the year was dreadful, except for maybe Sonny Gray, who was on the trade block here 2 weeks ago. Now I doubt they're going to move him. The fact they'll probably add pitching. But it's not, and the Yankees have stayed alive. 19 and 22, that's all because of starting pitching. They scored 5 runs like 3 times in those 40 games. So, last night, they get that win last night. That was a big win because it would have been a disastrous weekend without that win. But if you watch that game, fundamentally, this team is so flawed. They get the 5th inning, 6th inning, they load the bases with nobody out. They don't get a run.
Yeah.
This is up there the first pitch with the bases loaded.
Last night's game, the frustration when the Yankees have a 1-0 lead, I think it was the 5th or 6th inning.
I think.
Bases loaded, no outs. They make 2 outs. Volpe's up. Volpe has a 1-2 count. He lays off a pitch on the outside corner, shows a good head, good discipline, 2-2. Next pitch, outside corner, a little out of the strike zone, great discipline. Now it's a full count. Bases are loaded. Pitcher's got to throw a strike. Volpe chases a pitch out of the strike zone, gets a terrible swing on the ball.
Awful.
Terrible swing. And I'm thinking when the count's full, keep the bat on your shoulders. Don't swing and take your chances of getting a walk. Even, unless
you'd have a better chance of getting a walk.
Unless the pitcher's going to come with something right over the plate. And
well, it was ball 4. It's like 6 inches. It was high in a way.
But in a way, it's getting timely hits. If you look at some of the players, Ryan McMahon has come on a bit. He's come on a bit. Grisham has come on a bit.
A little bit.
Goldschmidt was in a horrendous slump for a while. He started hitting again a little, but he was beyond horrendous.
I think the Yankees are going to ride out third base. They've gotten 18 homers out of the 2 guys in that platoon. That's not terrible. They're not hitting for much average, but they have gotten 18 home runs out of them and decent defense, obviously, out of McMahon.
Yeah, you can ride out. You got McMahon, Caballero, Rosario. You could mix and match. But McMahon will be the primary guy.
You can't write out 4 guys at the bottom of that lineup hitting 220 or less, like Wells and Jazz and whoever's playing shortstop. And we got to do catcher's got to be the number one thing to go after. I think they're going to get a shortstop unless they bring up Lombard.
Yeah, I got my theory, Keith. If Lombard was that good, supposed to be the best prospect in the organization, why hasn't he been brought up by now?
Well, he got off to a horrible start in AAA when they moved him up, and now he's playing much better.
Well, but that should tell you something. If he's not lighting it up at AAA.
Now he is. He didn't earlier in the season. That's what I'm saying.
But sometimes we hear about these great, phenomenal prospects, and they stay in the minors forever, and we keep talking about them. But at the end, they're not that good. Didn't the Mets have one of those Lance Millage a while ago? Is that his name?
That's a long time ago. Yeah, that's a long time.
He was supposed to be their blue chip prospect, and then they just traded him for so guy, and he never panned out.
I think he got his first name wrong, but Millage is his last name. I can't remember his first name.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't know. I mean, and you don't want to give up on a guy like Juan Dominguez. He might never turn out to be anything to brag about. He's just been so. But if you move on from them, they could turn out to be stars elsewhere when they get to play every day.
Well, at some point, they're called prospects for a reason because they haven't done anything. And Dominguez has had a couple of chances and has not yet produced. Spencer Jones hasn't produced. None of the kids have produced really, and helped out this year when they needed them. You're going to have to part with somebody if you want to bring in. I know Lindor's not coming over here to New York. That's not it, to the Yankees.
Well, who's going to pay? He's getting $34 million a year.
He's not coming.
For 5 years after the season.
I don't think
there are 5 more years. So I don't see the Mets. Let's say the Mets hypothetically we're going to pay $10 million a year off that. With the Yankees, really, is it worth $24 million? Yeah, and what are you going to do? That Lindor would have to be a second baseman the next 5 years. And defensively, he's lost a little bit of his edge. That's what happens with shortstops when they get older. Yeah. They lose just a little bit, gradually. And Lindor hasn't been performing that well. Can he perform at a top level again? Perhaps.
It's yesterday.
But, are we getting to the point, Keith? I know you're frustrated, and I'm a bit frustrated, but I don't think we're all the way at the point. But are we getting to the point of thinking, Volpe's not our future shortstop?
Yes, we're getting to that point without a doubt. Whether it's Lombard or somebody from outside the organization, I think that's a definite possibility. They've been
but we don't know. I mean, he on the bases, Volpe gives you something.
You got to get there, though. You got to get on base more than you do.
He hasn't been terrible, Keith. He hasn't been terrible, but he's regressed from what we thought he'd be early on when he first came to the Yankees. I'm going to tell you, and I believe in taking accountability for my own predictions, the things I said, because you can't have it both ways. I can't remind people, for example, when Trinidad Chambliss is the best quarterback in the NFL, I can't be saying I told all you guys had no clue what you were talking about for a couple of years.
I'll remind you.
When I mention that later, I got to take accountability for when I'm wrong. I would have given Volpe a 10-year contract off the start. I would have. I wouldn't have given him crazy money, but I would have said, look, I could sign this guy for $12 million a year for the next 10 years, $120 million. I'm locked in my shortstop the next decade. This guy's going to be a staple of the team. Yep. And imagine the Yankees did that. Now, maybe it would still turn out okay. Maybe. But the point is, I wouldn't do that now. In other words, with Volpe, the best way of putting it, the jury's still out. But how long can the jury still be out? But sometimes you miscalculate. Look what the Mets with Nolan Ryan. Gil Hodges had the famous line about Nolan Ryan when he wasn't putting it together, and they kept telling Hodges about, well, doesn't Nolan Ryan have great potential? And Hodges said, some guys have potential all their lives. That's a great line. They never put it together quite.
And you know what? Nolan Ryan may never become Nolan Ryan playing in New York City. Volpe and the Yankees, they're getting dangerously close to falling into Gary Sanchez territory where they held on to him way too long, pass rate at any trade value.
You're not going to get anything in return for Volpe that's worth it. Look, Yankees are best served. No, Keith. At the current time, the Yankees are best served with Volpe as their shortstop. For now, I'm thinking going forward, beyond, as for the future. Listen, there's things that the Yankees, how many guys are going to be staples to their team in the future? Chaz Chisholm is a free agent at the end of the year. They're not going to re-sign him, I don't think.
I've seen enough of Jazz Chisholm.
Yeah, but
he can be a fine player, but he doesn't bring it. He doesn't bring the right intensity to the field. And
look at all the different positions. Austin Wells, are you confident? Maybe, you could run it back with these guys to an extent.
No, they need to make some.
But the Yankees, I feel, if they get Judge back in time, of course, and they get, and that's a question mark, and if they get Max Fried back, Stanton, Rodon, they'll be all right. I believe.
I think they're going to make a move at this deadline, and I think a shortstop comes in here, and they may have to give up Volpe in a trade, because here's one I'll give you. I think the Astros would take Volpe and a middling prospect for Jeremy Pena, and I think that would be a serious upgrade for the Yankees at this point.
No, I'll tell you the deal I might want to make for the Yankees. You could play him at shortstop, play him in the outfield. He's young. You could absorb his salary to an extent, but he's getting paid more money down, like Fernando Tatis. The Padres might, put some of the Yankees prospects.
You're going to give up Lombard in that trade, I guarantee you.
Which would be okay. But if you give up Lombard, that means you're thinking, okay, I'm going to stick with Volpe.
Tatis looks like he might be already flamed out. He's had a horrible year this year. You think this is just a bad spell for him, or?
He's young. Hasn't he come on a bit lately? You think of Machado, you're thinking.
Well, Tatis went from the 1st of September to the end of May without a home run. Let me just look here.
Yeah, and the numbers. I think you're thinking Manny Machado, who would belong in the two.
Right now, he's got 7 home runs now, 41. He's up to 284. All right, so he's playing better.
Okay, there you go. I mean, and that's upside. He's young. He's about 26, 27, right?
Yeah, he's picked. Young. How old is he? 27.
27. He's young. Tatis has good years ahead of him.
You're not getting him for. You're gonna have to give up a lot.
I would give up. Listen, unless you're completely sold on Lombard. If you're not sold on Lombard being a staple of the Yankee team going forward, that's when you're really a prospect who can make his mark as a major leaguer. I would take the short thing in Tatis. I would.
He does have.
I know he has a 3-day suspension and all, but that would be the big move. But I think in baseball, one team is going to make a big move for Skubal, and my fear is a little bit. It could be the Red Sox. It could be the Red Sox. But Skubal is a rental. He's a rental unless the team dealing for him is going to absolutely break the bank right now, trade for him based on him signing an extension. But that extension, that's going to be heavy-duty money, and I can't see any team offering that crazy, money in an extension that he would be demanding. They'd have to give him like $50 million a year for 8 years, like a $400 million deal.
Well, that's not happening at the trade deadline, not with the labor issues that are hanging over the game.
Yeah, that's another big issue.
So he's a rental, no matter how you look at it, right? And if I was the Tigers, I'd move him, because I don't think they've got a chance to re-sign him. But even if you thought you had a chance, this team's not winning the World Series. Trade him, and he's going to be a free agent. You can still negotiate with him as a free agent.
Once in a while, a rental actually pays off. The Cubs, remember, they gave one of their best prospects to the Yankees, Gleyber Torres.
Yeah.
And Torres worked out with the Yankees. He was a good Yankee. He had a good Yankee run.
For a couple of years, he did well.
And they gave Adenois Chapman to the Cubs, and the Cubs won the World Series that year, so it paid off.
And the Yankees re-signed him. And the Yankees re-signed him in the offseason as well.
And Chapman was supposed to be on the trade block too, and the Red Sox weren't playing well.
He won't
and
be now.
Chapman's still remarkable. Is
He won't be
Chapman
now.
a potential Hall of Famer when you're thinking about what
Man.
he's done over his career?
Borderline. Relievers
Yeah,
are
now
different. I
I
think
never would have thought of him as such.
I
Never.
don't.
But
I think relievers have got to really accumulate a lot of big numbers, like with saves and whatnot. I don't know if he's got those kind of numbers
yeah.
because people aren't going to remember, individual performances and stuff the way they do with everyday players or starting pitchers.
Yeah, but moves are going to be made. It's going to be interesting with a number of these teams because, like you pointed out all year, Keith, and rightfully so, the American League has been awful this year. But we know it's not going to stay that way. Some of the teams are finally bursting out. They're going to be playing better, like the Red Sox have, the Orioles have, the Blue Jays. We wouldn't be surprised they start playing well. And some other teams, like the Tigers that were terrible, started playing better. The Astros are hanging in. Seattle might go on a run suddenly from being a 500 team. They're just too many teams there where it's hard to believe a few of them aren't going to just start putting it together.
And that's dangerous for those teams because they're going to fool themselves into thinking they got a chance to win it all, and they're not going to sell. They're going to buy when they should be selling, and that's what's going to happen here. There's not going to be I don't think there's going to be a ton of moves because teams aren't. There's not going to be enough sellers. I don't think.
Outside of the Dodgers, okay, the Dodgers are a powerhouse team. But when you look at the rest of the teams in baseball, any team can make a run during the playoffs. Now, I think if the Yankees get all their guys back healthy, I think the Yankees are going to the World Series. But that means Aaron Judge has to be Aaron Judge, Max Fried is Max Fried, et cetera, because the Yankee bullpen, which has been spotty at times, is still capable of putting it together.
I don't think we're going to get the Aaron Judge we want back this year.
Well, that's the question mark. If we don't, the Yankees in trouble.
I think he'll take a shot at coming back by the end of August, and I'm not sure how it's going to work out. That injury, he's going to be very easy to re-injure himself, even if he's fully healed.
Would you shut Aaron Judge down if you had serious doubts? Would you take a chance on him coming back, re-injuring himself?
I guess it would depend on where I sit, right? A month from now. If they're just middling in the wild card race.
Giancarlo Stanton, after this season, how many more years is he on the contract for the Yankees? Is it, I think, 2 more, if I'm not mistaken?
I do think it's 2 more, yes.
So teams don't cut ties with players so easily if they have to pay him for 2 years. So Stanton next season will probably still be part of the Yankees' plans as long as he hits when he comes back. As long as he shows he can still hit, they'll tolerate him. But if the Yankees have Stanton for just 1 more year, teams tend to eat money on the last year of the contract. So they don't stick with the guy as much as they would if he had more time on the contract.
There's only $10 million. There's a $10 million buyout on the 28 season. So they've got a club option. If they want to get rid of him, it's $10 million to get rid of him.
But that's a 2028.
2028. Next year is guaranteed $25 million next year.
So the Yankees aren't going to eat that, especially since Stanton can still hit, can still produce when healthy. But
by the way, this is an important consideration because I did not realize this. The Marlins are responsible for $10 million of his contract the next 2 years after this.
Huh.
So it's not as much money for the Yankees.
Speaking of the Marlins, they're very quietly in the hunt. They're like 6 games out of first place.
Yeah, they're 5 or 6 over 500. They're playing really
they're a few games over. I think, over 500. And, we keep thinking the Phillies cutting into Atlanta's lead. The Phillies are 3 games behind Atlanta, but the Marlins are like 6 games out, I think.
They are 6 games out as we speak, and they're 4 games over 500. The Phillies have played much better under Mattingly. They've faded a little bit here the last week and a half or 2 weeks, but they've really cut that lead. Remember, they were down 9 games out. Three. Injuries with Atlanta have really cost them. LA is the best team in baseball, and
LA is just the best. Yeah, point blank.
I agree 100%. They don't have a chance without Judge Danny for sure. I know you didn't have to use ABS for that. I'll ask you, Jack, because Danny and I have this argument like every time we have a show. Are you happy with the ABS system in baseball?
I mean, that changes all the time. I mean, I adjust to the changes, Keith.
Do we have to worry about this is one pitch? I mean, I get it. Bad umpiring should be addressed by getting rid of those bad umpires.
Yeah, the ball and strike thing, what bothers me about that? The batter has to make a split-second decision whether he's appealing it or the catcher. And the mind doesn't function that quick sometimes, and if you're second slow, no, you can't have the appeal. Listen, I've gotten used to things, for example, like the pitch clock. Players have gotten used to it. You get used to all that.
We would have lost one of the great moments in baseball history we had this clock with Kirk Gibson in Game 1 of the 1988 World Series. We couldn't have had all those histrionics with him around the bat because he would have had to stay in the box. And I don't know. I probably worry too much about little things, but anyway.
No, I mean, but you don't know how it would have worked like another way, with the rules as well. I could say, oh, well, the Cardinals, if we had replay there with Don Deckinger, that call that maybe the Cardinals win the World Series and not the Kansas City Royals in 1985.
And nobody ever remembers that World Series. Nobody would even remember that World Series without that play. I make arguments both ways. I get it. I know it's a bad call, horrible call.
Okay, I could say with Joe Joyce, the missed call with Galarraga, had they had replay, they could have overturned that. But then again, I'm against revisionist decisions the more I think of it. Because if we're going to have revisionist decisions, are we going to take away Don Lawson's perfect game because the last strike to Mitchell wasn't really a strike? We could say.
It wouldn't
be. We're going to say Rafael Santana, who threw the only no-hitter in Met history, didn't really throw a no-hitter because one of the balls hit the line. So it shouldn't have been a no-hitter. It's kind of like what it is, unfortunately.
Larson is the perfect example of why this system is going to blow up in their faces at some point. It's gonna. You're going to get to Game 7 of the World Series, and something's going to happen that erases a great moment, and it's going to suck. But I guess we would have got all the calls right. Before we go, in baseball, a couple of notes on a couple of player passings this last week. Ron Hunt, the Mets' first All-Star, all-time leader in getting hit by pitches. He played a long time in the major leagues. Played with Montreal and the Cardinals as well, maybe the Giants. He passed away this week. And sadly, Dwayne Ward, who was in Toronto for a celebration of the 92 and 93 back-to-back champions this past weekend, passed away. I don't know what happened to him. I'm assuming heart attack or something of that sort. Passed away at just 62 years old this past weekend. So our thoughts and prayers go out to their friends and family. And it's sad. It sucks as I get older, man. All I see is guys that I grew up watching. They're passing away. So
yeah, I mean, Ron Hunt lived to 85. Okay, and now Ward age 62. I mean, that hurts even more. Ron Hunt played on those terrible Met teams, the legendary terrible Met teams, and he was the one bright spot where they had like a legitimate all-star on the worst possible team.
He might have finished second in the Rookie of the Year too. I think he was close. He was.
I think he finished second behind Ken Hubbs, who tragically died in a snowmobile accident in an avalanche or something.
Cubs, right?
Ken Hubbs was a second baseman, for the Cubs.
Yeah. sad player. So anyway, our condolences to them. Tonight you've got Jack and Frank on Glove Fist. Make sure you check that out. Any preview of that show or anything?
No, we're just going to talk about the upcoming fight, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Frank Laterzo, myself, D'Anthony, Joshua Christian praying a fight, Errol Spence, Tim Zhu, and just boxing in general. 7 o'clock Eastern Time tonight.
Check out Jack and Frank tonight, and we'll certainly share that show at some point as well. So, Jack, we'll see you Friday. And, guys, you have a great week, and we'll catch up on all the news and sports on Friday morning with Jack and myself. Guys, have a great day. Bye-bye. I got no music. I don't know why.